This is absolutely ridiculous. Juan Soto did not make it to the National League All-Star team here in 2025 when he very well could have been a starter. His stats stack up against all Major League Baseball players. I'm not just talking National League outfielders. I'm not just talking outfielders. I'm not just talking the National League. I'm talking the entire MLB. And Juan Soto somehow, some way did not get named to the All-Star roster here in 2025 for the National League. It's absolutely ridiculous, and we're going to go over exactly why, backed up by the statistics, backed up by the professionals, the experts. They know what they're talking about, and they're saying that Soto got robbed as well. So we're going to talk exactly why, and it'll only be here on Mets Digest. I'm your host today, Mike Duda. I'll take you through all of it, but first we got to talk about some subscribers, and that being that 67.3% of you that watch these videos aren't one. So please do me a favor, do us a favor here on Mets Digest, and hit that free subscribe button. That way we can bring content to you about the amazing. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and dive right into this. And I wanted to come on here and be like, hey, congratulations to our 4 All-Stars. They did awesome. They're having great seasons. Congratulations to all these guys on making the All-Star team. But no, we only have 3 representatives because Juan Soto didn't make it. Now, first and foremost, congratulations to Francisco Lindor, Pete Alonso, and Edwin Diaz on being named 2025 All-Stars. All very, very well deserving. Of course, Lindor is the starting shortstop for the National League. Go ahead and check out my video on Thursday where that is titled, This is Huge for the Mets, if you want to go ahead and listen a little bit more as to these guys, and especially Lindor as he was named a starter back on Thursday. So, why am I making this video here? Well, that's because Juan Soto is not on this list. You go ahead and look at the outfielders for the National League. Here they are, and of course, no New York Met Juan Soto, which is ridiculous because look at these statistics. I know the average is low. It's 263. That's not even low in Major League Baseball nowadays, but look at that OBP. 396, a 904 OPS. He's got 21 homers and 51 RBIs at the All-Star break. 10 stolen bases to go along with it. It is ridiculous that this guy is not starting, and let me tell you exactly why. Some of the stats that you don't see on your screen here. 65 runs. You do see it here, but some of these you won't. 65 runs. That is 4th in all of Major League Baseball and 3rd in the National League. Those 21 homers, 10th in the MLB, 7th in the National League. And I'm not just talking outfielders. I am talking all of Major League Baseball and all of the National League. Every single player. 72 walks. That is by far number 1 in all of baseball. By 5. Not just the National League. Not just outfielders. Not just NL outfielders. All of Major League Baseball is the most walks by 5. Amongst qualifying hitters, his 396 OBP. 4th in all of Major League Baseball. 2nd in the National League. That 508 slugging that you don't see on your screen. 19th in the MLB, 14th in the National League. A 904 OPS. That is 9th in all of Major League Baseball and 7th in the National League. And he has also played 90 out of the Mets' 91 games this year. Tied for the 5th most games played in Major League Baseball and tied for 2nd in the National League in games played. Now, how about amongst these fellas and all of the outfielders in the National League? Well, he's tied with James Wood for 1st in games played. Obviously, he's got a lot of games played. He only sat 1 game. So he's tied for James Wood, who is at the bottom of your screen and was named an All-Star for most games played. He's 1st in runs, 3rd in homers, 1st in walks, 1st in OBP, 6th in slugging, and 2nd in OPS amongst all National League outfielders. His OPS is only below James Wood amongst qualifying outfielders. Ronald Acuna is not a qualified player because Acuna was out for so long, but we'll get into those statistics. He is very well deserving of it. But the other 2, both Cubs players, honestly, Soto could have been named over either of these guys as starters. Let's go ahead and check out Pete Armstrong. Now, I know this might be a little bit of a stretch, but I'm a big OPS plus guy. I like OPS plus because it doesn't narrow it down to a certain field. If you're a guy like Juan Soto that gets on base a ton, it works for you. If you're a guy like maybe Pete Alonso, who has a really, really high slugging percentage, well, this also works for you because it equals those 2 things out. And Juan Soto has a 20 OPS plus higher than Pete Armstrong, arguably the National League MVP right now. He's got a much higher OPS overall, nearly 100 better points on the OBP. He's played more games. He's got more plate appearances. These stats aren't necessarily the most updated because it has Soto at 89 games played. It doesn't account today's game against the New York Yankees. Speaking of which, videos coming tomorrow on last week. Successful week overall for the Mets, but I'll leave that for the video tomorrow. let's go ahead and compare Mr. Soto to Ronald Acuna. And obviously the counting stats are going to be higher for Soto. That makes sense. And the average stats are obviously going to be higher for Ronald Acuna because he hasn't played as many games. Acuna's been fantastic. This is really one of the only guys that I think deserves it more than Soto, with the other one being James Wood. We'll get to that in just a little bit. But here's one that I'm really upset. You want to say PCA, he's having a fantastic year. He's a young guy, right? He hasn't been around. Fine, I completely get that. Juan Soto is better than Kyle Tucker as well. 162 OPS, that's higher than Tucker. 915 OPS, that's higher than Tucker. 401 OBP, higher than Tucker. He's got more home runs, just one less RBI. Why is Kyle Tucker an all-star? A little bit higher of a batting average and one higher point in slugging? Oh, he steals more bases. Does that really make him a more valuable player than Juan Soto? I know the WAR is higher, but again, we all know that defensive WAR skews WAR overall. And Soto's really good with his offensive WAR. So why is Kyle Tucker over Juan Soto? Why is he starting and why is Juan Soto not in this spot? Let's go ahead and move on. This is even more ridiculous. I think this is the most ridiculous thing. Why? Why is Corbin Carroll over Juan Soto? If you need to get a Diamondback in there because every team needs a representative in the All-Star game, get Ketel Marte. Ketel Marte has had a great year. Do not rob Juan Soto. Look at the stats. Everything is better with the exception of slugging from Juan Soto. Every single category. Why? Why? Corbin Carroll does not deserve it over Juan Soto. That is ridiculous. Here's another guy that has to get in because everyone needs a representative. Marlins' best player has been Kyle Stowers, and obviously he's going to be the representative. So Soto gets screwed in this case because the Marlins need a representative, but the stats speak for themselves again. 5 less slugging percent points, and what is that? 18 average? 17 average? It's nothing. 16. It's nothing. It is nothing. Why? Juan Soto, much better than Kyle Stowers. Much better this year than Corbin Carroll. I am so angry about Corbin Carroll getting this over Juan Soto. But anyway, here are the rest of the guys. Fernando Tatis. Soto's been much better with the exception of stolen bases and one less hit. Here's another one that's absolutely ridiculous. Why is Juan Soto not in over Fernando Tatis? Soto has had a much better season. And I know what people are going to say. Oh, he's had a really hot couple of days in July and a really hot month of June. Okay, that 162 OPS plus and that 915 OPS still talks. Doesn't matter where he got it from. He has it. That's what he has to show. That's the player Juan Soto has been through the All-Star break, through All-Star selection that occurred just a couple of hours ago. This is ridiculous. Last one, James Wood. I understand this completely. I think James Wood is super underrated. I think James Wood should have been a National League All-Star starter, probably over Soto and probably over Kyle Tucker, arguably even PCA. James Wood has been nuts. No way I'm going to argue that Soto should go over Woods. But there's only two guys that you can't even make an argument for Soto. That, of course, being Wood and here for Ronald Acuna, even though you technically could make an argument for Ronald Acuna because he hasn't played as many games as Soto. Soto has been there all season, whereas Ronald Acuna just has not. So let's go ahead and hear from our only expert of the day. We're going to hear one quote today, and that is from Bradford Doolittle of ESPN. It's a long one. Get ready. He says, quote, "Not sure how this happens, but I'm guessing Soto is a victim of his own standards. Yes, he signed a contract for an unfathomable amount of money, and so far, he hasn't reinvented the game as a member of the Mets. So, we're robbing Juan Soto of an all-star game because he hasn't reinvented baseball? You kidding me? He has just been lower-end Juan Soto, which is still one of the best players in the sport. One of the best players in the sport, and you're not named an all-star. His OBP is, as ever, north of 400, as ever. He leads the league in walks, and it sure seems as if Pete Alonso has very much enjoyed hitting behind him. Why is Pete Alonso having the best season of his entire career? I don't know. Maybe Juan Soto hitting in front of him? I don't know. Coincidence? No. The All-Star Game was invented for players like Soto. And though you might leave out someone like him if he's having a truly poor season, that's not the case here. The stats speak for themselves. There's only two guys that I can definitively say are having better seasons than Juan Soto without an argument for Soto, without trying to make some form of an argument for Juan Soto. And even Acuna, even how incredible Ronald Acuna has been, he missed about half the season. So really, with the exception of James Wood, I'm arguing Juan Soto over everyone. It is kind of amazing that he didn't make it. While Mackenzie Gore and James Wood, both part of the trade that sent Soto from Washington to San Diego, did, they deserve it. I agree, 100%. And you can make a strong argument that a third player the Nats picked up in the trade, CJ Abrams, yes, he got robbed, does as well. I agree that Abrams got robbed, but this is not Nationals Digest, this is Mets Digest, so obviously we're going to focus on Soto here. But Soto deserves it too. Soto deserves it too. Finally, the Marlins' most deserving pick is outfielder Kyle Sowers, who indeed ended up as their default selection, but he probably ended up with Soto's slot. Now, why was it not Corbin Carroll? I get it. I know that Sowers has to be picked in there, but why is it not Corbin Carroll? This is ridiculous. So let me know down below, what do you think? Do you agree that this is absolute highway robbery of Juan Soto? I'm going to be more positive in my next video. We're going to go over the All-Stars that the New York Mets did indeed get. But congratulations to them, and Juan Soto, I really, really hope you make it, man. It is ridiculous that he was not selected. Hopefully he makes it as a reserve. Unfortunately, that's all the time I have for you in today's video. Go down in the comment section. Let me know how ridiculous this is. Did Soto get robbed? 100%. Unfortunately, again, that's all the time I have for you today. And let's go Mets.